Talk to you about bend points. So if you're wondering what are the good notes to bend in all 5 patterns of minor pentatonic and all 5 patterns of major pentatonic, today I'm going to show you. Before we start, I just want to talk about what a bend is and how bends typically work. When you do a bend, what you're doing is you're changing the pitch of a note by tightening the string. So if I go, this note was originally a D, but I stretched it up towards the ceiling and I turned it into an E. Now there's half step bends, there's micro bends, just you can bend it all over the place. What we're going to be doing today is mainly whole step bends. There might be some exceptions, but in general, what you're doing when you bend is you're changing the pitch of a note in your scale to another note in that same scale. So for instance, D and E are both part of A minor. I want to do that. I want to turn a D into an E by going, and you can do pre-bends and stuff by like bending it up first. I lowered an E down to a D when I did that. So that's the idea. One thing you can do to improve the quality of your bends is to first play the note that you're bending towards. So first you could play an E and aim for that. Right? And vibrato can help with that. A little bit of reverb helps too to kind of find your pitch. But vibrato on bends is like a whole other lesson, and I'll cover that some other time. A note about bending. So you could use your pinky, you could use your ring finger, any finger you want. You might need a friend to help you use your pointer finger, but the idea is you get strong by practicing your bends with all your different fingers. Anyhow, let's start out by doing all patterns of A minor pentatonic. I'm going to start with this one. The notes you can bend are the 8th fret of the high E string, the 8th fret of the B string, the 7th fret of the G string, and the 5th fret of the G string. Now, all of these are whole step bends, but whenever you have this kind of flat third going on in any of these patterns, you could do a whole step bend or you could do a little micro bend. You can go, or it's up to you, but the other ones generally are a whole step bend. So and now that flat third. Or okay, next pattern. So now we're in the D shape. There's really just 2 notes in this pattern that I typically bend. It's the 10th fret of the high E string and the 8th fret of the high E string. But that 8th fret is like so kind of weird that I only bend it a flat third. So in this pattern, I really just bend those 2. That's a lick I'll use. Next pattern. The notes I bend in this pattern are the 13th fret of the B string, the 12th fret of the G string, and the 12th fret of the D string. So I might go. That's it. Now we're in this pattern. So the 2 notes I like to bend in this pattern the most are the 15th fret of the high E string and the 15th fret of the B string. But sometimes I'll also do a micro bend again on that flat third, which is the 13th fret of the B string. Now we're in our final pattern. In this pattern, I like to bend the, what is this, 12, 15, the 17th fret of the G string. And beyond that, I'll do the 17th fret of the A string. I guess since this is the flat third, you could do a micro bend too, which I do a lot. But also a whole step bend. There's another flat third down here. So we got a flat third here, and a flat third on the 15th fret. So, but I rarely bend this one a whole step because it's kind of weird for my pointer finger. And if I'm moving over there, I just do a little micro bend. That's all patterns of minor pentatonic. So now we're going to do bends in A major pentatonic. First, let's start out with the G shape. So when we convert everything over to major pentatonic, the feeling is really similar, but the notes change, right? So I'm still bending what was the higher of the two notes in the equivalent pattern of minor. So for instance, I can bend this guy and this guy, both the 5th fret of the high E string and the B string, the 4th fret of the G string. But now this note that previously was my minor 3rd in minor pentatonic, it's my root in major. Now we're in this pattern, which is the A pattern. There's really just one note that I bend in this pattern. It's the 7th fret of the high E string. Now we're onto the D shape. In this pattern, I really just bend the 9th fret of the D string. That's the only one I bend in this pattern. If I'm doing a major minor blend, then all this stuff changes, and it'll change as you start to learn these things. But right now, it's just, for me, in major, just that one note. Now we're on the C shape. There's two notes that I like to bend in this pattern. The first is the 12th fret of the high E string and the 12th fret of the B string. So now we're on to this pattern, the A shape. There's really just one note here again that I bend, just this guy. And it was the same note over here. I'm bending a 2 to a 3. But in reality, when you're playing in major, you're probably in a bluesy thing or like a country thing, and you can start to sneak in some minor stuff. But that's a whole other subject. That's all 5 patterns. Now, this is a shortcut. I'm trying to show you a shortcut for which notes sound good if you're trying to play blues or poppy stuff, conventional stuff. I invite you to try your own bends and try different stuff. You can break the rules. I'm just saying these are tried and true, and sometimes if you're in a blues, for instance, and you try to bend the root, it might sound weird, right? So I'm just giving you a shortcut. If you use these notes to bend, your bends will sound good. You don't have to follow any of this stuff, but if you're trying to quickly learn which notes to bend, which notes sound good in major and minor pentatonic, these I guarantee will work, and they'll save you a lot of time.